Okay, let's take a look at the interior. First, if you look in the door sills, this is all solid metal. That's the one spot. Don't really know what's going on there. One other spot besides down here underneath the front driver's fender, as well as a little bit right up here. Right up here. You can feel it. You can barely see it, but you can feel just a little bit right along in there. But other than that, okay, let's take a look at the interior here. Again, aftermarket steering wheel, but it's old. I'm thinking it's either installed like in the 80s, late 80s, when the soft top was installed. I think the soft top is dated like 1989, and the sun visors probably around the same time. So maybe the steering wheel, but again, the steering wheel really with this nice Boss, it looks like that was could have been purchased new from the German dealer. Let's see here. The lights function great. The washer pump doesn't. Windshield wipers do. This actually, and I think this is original to the car, actually. Because again, the key is underneath the dash. The choke. You got these three here. The fan. That one's loose. I think this one functions. I believe it just opens a flap, and I think this is the heater here. Again, I haven't really messed with any of these. I think someone, I really thought about, just pulling this radio out, because it just doesn't look all that good. Putting in like a Blaupunkt or something like that, and then, cleaning up the wiring down here. Just never got around to it. Overdrive switch here on the left. Turn signals are on the right side, and they do self-cancel. The turn signal light inside doesn't actually function, but the turn signals front and back do actually function. If you look, you can see the mirrors, they're in an odd position. They should be either here on the door or up on the wings, so they don't, that side is almost completely useless. If you look at the dash, you see this terrible crack right here. It's terrible. It doesn't look good, but I'll tell you, this piece here, everyone who's restored a Triumph knows this piece right here is completely unobtainium. And what I've seen is in the restored examples, putting on a new dash cap, you can't get the same grain. The new dash caps, on the restored examples, they look beautiful and like, but it's a very smooth grain. And here, if you look, this is the same grain here, here, here on all pieces along in here. So, some previous owner had put a piece of tape here and it was all white. You'll see that in some of the older photos and stuff. So we just took some vinyl dye and put it right along there. So, it isn't nearly as noticeable, but of course it's this terrible gash right there in the dash. But, it's either pull everything except for this piece, because you can't buy a new one of these and then have mismatching vinyl grain, or try to repair that, or, leave it as is. You look at the door cards. They're kind of beat up, but they're original. It's got the little buttons on both sides here. It's missing a button on the driver's side. If you look back here, again, you can see that heavy grain. The original heavy grain, this is all original back here. The seats have been really, the seats, whoever did these did a really nice number, because the seats are just beautiful. And let's take a look. Let's take a look underneath the carpets. The guy who put in the carpets glued them down, but you can pull up and see here, and you'll see it on the underside shots too, that the floor pans are in great shape. If you look at the passenger seat, these are supposed to clip up in there. These have like some sticky Velcro that I put in there to keep it up there, but somehow they're supposed to stay clipped up in there, and I don't know how that even works. Driver's side's fine, no issues with that. If you look back here, you see the little details. You see like the little the lift-a-dot snaps, You'll see it too underneath. All the clips for the carpets are original. They're all still there. You know, but I mean, ultimately, of course, the black isn't original, and you know, it's kind of this cheap carpet that's impossible to clean. Let's see here. All the gauges work. Temperature gauge works, oil pressure, you'll see that in the driving videos. The fuel gauge works great. The tach doesn't bounce around like on a lot of these restored examples. Actually, you see the tach bouncing all over the place. Speedometer does not bounce, the tach does not bounce. The amp gauge functions. The speedometer does get progressively off. It's correct right around 40 miles an hour, but as you go up to about 60 miles an hour, it's reading more like 65, 66. By the time you get up to about 70, it's pretty far off. It's reading like 80, something like that. If you're doing 80 miles an hour, it's reading like 90 to 100. But right around 35, 40 is right where it's dead on, and it's not too far off, right around 50, 55. But at 60, 65, that's when it's reading probably about 7 miles per hour too fast. Okay, so that's the Triumph 64 Triumph Tr4 on Bring a Trailer.